Phoenix, we have a textbook example of urban sprawl. In 1880, Phoenix had about 1,000 people living in half a square mile. By 1920, it had about 400 times that many. And now, today, it's about 1,000 times that big, and it's still getting bigger. And everybody is getting everywhere in Phoenix on roads. We're all driving in cars, and 92% of us are using one car for each person. It's really not that efficient.
This is the American dream of freedom on wheels. An automotive age, traveling on time-saving superhighways. Though we have the greatest highway system in all the world, it can't carry the mounting traffic of our growing greatness. We're running out of roads. We didn't dream big enough.
We actually have a crash, many different vehicles involved.
And near as I can tell, Phoenix is growing and growing. Are there any plans to contain that growth by managing the traffic flow?
Well, there's a few things that we're doing as far as adding new highways. We've added in the last 15 years 100 miles of new highways that we didn't have before. Obviously, we're widening some of our existing highways as well. And then from a transit standpoint, we're working to expand the bus service in the Phoenix area, as well as the development of light rail connecting various points throughout the city.
Now, when you say making highways wider, I mean, the highways around here are pretty wide. How big is it going to get?
Well, 12's probably about as wide as you're going to see it go. If you have a highway that's much wider than that, you tend to see a reduction in the performance of the highway as far as the benefit. Every time you add a lane, you get a certain level of benefit. Beyond a 12-lane highway, you start to see that reduction.
Now, why is that? Because people have to change lanes to exit?
Exactly. You have so much weaving of traffic, people trying to get from one lane on the highway to a particular off-ramp, or when they enter the highway, trying to merge all the way to the left. So beyond a highway that's that wide, you have to look at some other considerations.
12 lanes, yeah.
Right.
All these cars, all this traffic, it's frustrating. How are we ever going to solve this problem?
Los Alamos National Laboratory, birthplace of the atom bomb and the world's fastest supercomputer, where the expertise in simulating military logistics and tank battles has turned to modeling traffic. So this is complicated.
This is more complicated than rocket science. Cities are complicated. Nations are complicated. Social systems are complicated. They have economic aspects. They have lots of individual elements and interaction. We don't really have a physics. We have to calculate the interactions when people are going to use a road or when they decide to walk. Somehow we have to make those calculations reliable. We have to understand what these things mean in some sort of scientifically credible way.
The question that all of us drivers have is, why are there traffic jams? Why is everything so messed up?
Traffic acts like something that's called a granular fluid.
Like sand through a pipe of air.
Like sand through a pipe of air, with a small exception, a large exception.
A significant exception.
A significant exception, that people have motives to be there.
Sand grains probably aren't thinking too much.
No, they don't have a lot of plans.
Yeah, as far as we know.
Right.
Yeah.
But people do, and they're following their plans, and they're trying to avoid other people for the most part. So that means that they do things like slow down. And as they slow down, then the guy behind him slows down, the guy behind him slows down, and it propagates backward.
To capture the countless decisions that individual travelers make in shaping a metropolitan area's traffic patterns, Barrett's team is creating a vast mirror world in cyberspace of every motorist and transit rider, every traffic light, turn lane, and bus stop. So what you've got here is mathematical people. These are not real people.
No, they're people that the population of them have the same properties as the population of the people in Portland or wherever we're simulating. This individual starts at home and carpools to work and has lunch and goes back to work and then carpools home again.
That's pretty linear. So are you going to be able to, for example, eliminate traffic jams?
No. We're not going to eliminate traffic jams.
Now, why do you say that? Because there's people who make those sort of extraordinary claims. If we just program the lights properly and so on.
We can make them a lot better, but without redesigning other aspects of the city than just how the roadways function, from the availability of transit to where people live and work, land use type decisions, and other aspects of the infrastructure. You're going to have traffic jams if you have people that all live somewhere and have to be somewhere else, and they're in large numbers and they're all trying to get there at the same time. I think that this deployed into the hands of decision makers over time and people with competing interests, this can change the way they approach the problem of arranging the way they live.
What do you say to people that go, look, we can't change. There's no way we can change. I like my car. I love my car. I'm not going to change. What do you say to those people?
Say 100 years ago, people didn't know what cars were. We changed. But if we don't change the way our cities function, then it won't look much different at all. It'll just be gridlock.
Sprawling, 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 gridlock, gridlock, gridlock. Oh, that sounds great.
Now, you might be saying this problem of traffic is not going to be solved anytime soon. I mean, what's the point? This is going to be the way of the world from now on. We're building freeways that are so massive, sometimes you can't get across them. You can't get anywhere. We're using huge amounts of energy to go very short distances. I mean, it's just wasteful.
Meanwhile, we have this tremendous obesity problem. We're overweight. We make time to drive our cars to buildings where we walk and pedal to nowhere. It's a little odd.
The longest journey starts with but a single step. So walk once in a while. Take the bus sometimes.
Influence these people to require us to drive more efficient cars.
Vote. Demand better land use laws and better city planning. You see, we could, dare I say it, change the world. We could make it a little less wasteful and a little more efficient. Otherwise, we're all stuck. That's the way I see it. I'll see you next time on The Eyes of Nine.
We've covered a lot of ground, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. Check out eyesofnye.org for more cool science.